Here we go.
Boy, am I glad to see you. And your old lady. And your neighbor. And your dog. Hey, I am the man for handful. You knew that. The guinea with the skinny, you knew that. The greaser who's a lady, Palisa. Glad to be here. This is our second Norman Goes It Alone, all by his damn self, hanging at the East Side Sound Studio on Monongahela Avenue, Swissville, Pennsylvania, on the same street as Rudy Subs and the legendary, world-famous Triangle Bar and Grill, where you get battleships and destroyers. They line up before Steeler games. You know you're in Pittsburgh. Before a Steeler game, when the line at the Tri, down the block. Down the block! Folks is hanging to get a piece of that. Boy, we're glad to have you with us. Hanging here by myself. Got some ideas on things to do for everybody today. Got some songs I want to play for you. And I'm hoping that I can get inside you, get in your skin. Oh, one thing I did want to mention, and I think we all need to hear, John Prine passing away. Now we've had great music people in our country the whole way through, but I don't think can't think of anyone that no one would ever say anything bad about John Prine. A lot of other great music people would say, he knows too much, or he thinks he knows too much, or he's this or he's that. But John Prine, there ain't nothing you can say about John Prine but beautiful. You know what I mean? All the way back. When he was young, he had a voice. He knew how to tell you a story, which is something we're going to talk about today, is telling you a story. And how do you get people's attentions? And then once you get their attention, how do you make them follow through with that attention and follow through with the storyline you're trying to tell them? John Prine just had it down. He had just such a casual way about being somebody. He was somebody in a very over-the-top manner. He just walked in the room and you changed how you were just so you could feel him better. That's the kind of power he had over people. I've never had that. I always was jumping around like a little monkey, scratching myself, slobbering on people, snorting, grunting, moaning, farting through silk, all that stuff. So when I think of John Prine, I just think of total greatness and total, we can all agree that this man was better than the rest of us. And this man, when he had something to say, I caught him one day sniffing my undies. Ain't seen my old man in a month of Sundays. Caught him one day sniffing my undies. One of the greatest lines ever written. You kidding me? But I just wanted to mention John Prine because I think we're all in agreement that this man could teach us all how to be better people and teach us all how to laugh at ourselves and our loved ones, which is always a positive thing to do. Hey, I'm going to kick us off here with a song I wrote about 30 years ago. When I wrote it, I was in a heavy Willie Nelson phase of life. I don't know if, I always say life comes in stages. And at this stage of life, I was studying all things Willie Nelson. And I remember a song he had written called Me and Paul. It was actually the name of an album and a song. And it was a song about his drummer, Paul English, who just passed away in the past month or two, who was a bigger man and a tough guy. And when Willie would get drunk and stupid and do shit he shouldn't have been doing, Paul English would be the guy that would put his arm around him and say, I'm going to take this man and we're going to get out of here and no one's going to get hurt. He was Willie's comment / drummer / bodyguard, which I think when he was younger, Willie might have needed on occasion. But I love the way Willie was writing back then because he was just talking about the day-to-day things, and that's what this song is about. It's just the day-to-day thing of being a musician. When I do this song on gigs, I always say it like this. I say I'd like to send this out to anyone here tonight that ever played in a rock and roll band. A couple people raise their hands. Then I'll say anybody here tonight who had a mother, a father, brother, or sister, aunt, or uncle played in a rock and roll band. A couple people raise their hands. And then here comes my big line. Then I say, I'd like to send this out to any women here tonight who ever slept with anybody in a rock and roll band. and then I could feel that question really hits the room where I wanted to hit it. And then I come across with the great line like, and I'd like to talk to you girls hands-on a little later. Do you love that? Yeah, I do too. You don't love it as much as I do, because I simply go goofy over that. But I'm going to try and hit you with a song here. It's a little thing called Playing in a Rock and Roll Band, which is a great way to go. It's a great life. I knew what I was going to do when I was a kid. I never deviated from the concept of just being a simple guy that played in a band. That's good enough for me. That's the life. And whatever that might bring, we're going to run with it. I got a new sippy cup this week. I got it from my friends down in Davis, West Virginia. Beautiful town on the top of a mountain. My friend Michael. He's actually a good friend of mine. He's also the guy that married me and my old lady right there in his pizza shop. But that's a story for another day. Playing in a rock and roll band. How you doing? There were times when I thought I'd never make enough. The times, well, they taught me to play rough. And there's places that I've been I never go back to. 'Cause there's things that I've done I never own up to. Now there were songs that I sung should have never been wrote. Times when I couldn't find the right note. But I drive all day, then I sing all night too. 'Cause there ain't nothing in this world that I'd rather do. Playing in a rock and roll band is all I ever knowed. Being out on the road, it's just like being at home. Doing all those one-night stands, well, that sound like fun to me, boy. I grew from a boy into a man, playing in a rock and roll band. Old guitars and amplifiers are like old friends who never let me down. And every new song that I write, it's our ticket out of town. Man, there's nights I be out there, sick as a dog. And that time in Buffalo, we drove through the fog, but we got where we was going, and we really put on a show. Man, I guess you could say we really stormed Buffalo. How about all the disappointments every time we've tried to climb up on that ladder, but it seems as though we'd slide right back to the bottom. All we have left is our pride. But that just made us stronger. Cause there's this burning inside. Playing in a rock and roll band, it's all I ever knew. Being out on the road, it's just like being at home. Doing all those one-night stands, oh, that sound like fun to me, boy. I grew from a boy into a man, playing in a rock and roll band. I grew from a boy into a man, playing in a rock and roll band. Come on, folks, let's give this guy a hand for playing in a rock and roll band. played in a rock and roll band. Written in the tradition of the fine Willie Nelson writing style of the late 80s and early 90s. Man, we're glad to be here. Tonight I'm wearing my Liver Hurts t-shirt. My friend Johnny got me this t-shirt. And he got it for me because I told him one day about the late great Warren King. We were hanging back we were still in our 20s, so I guess it was in the 70s. And Warren looked at me one day and he says, Dookie, my liver hurts. And I had never heard anyone say that their liver hurt before. And I guess it struck a chord with me. And I would always, when I would be talking about Warren King, the great Kingfish, I always talk about how he's told me about how his liver hurt all those years ago. And he held on to that liver a good while. And they had a pretty great relationship. That liver did some good work for that man. Liver work. That'd be a good name for a punk rock band, right? I remember back years ago, we'd be hanging in Jersey in the 90s, and we would look at the aquarium, and we would go through the aquarium and just find all the weird, great names that punk rock bands used. Because if you have a punk rock band, it's the perfect chance to have a great name. Our favorite name was always Poop Shovel. My lovely assistant Tom is laughing over here when I say Poop Shovel. That was the name of a band. Are you kidding me? Do you love that? You kidding me? I've never seen Poop Shovel, but I have their first 2 albums. No, I don't really. But playing a rock and roll band, right? I knew when I was a kid. I knew I wanted to strap it on and be somebody. I knew I wanted to take my ass, drag myself out on a road. Remember when we were still in high school? We would rent U-Haul trucks, and then we would get a gig down in West Virginia playing at a fraternity party. The great party state of West Virginia. Then we would play that gig, and then we would stay there and sleep on the floor of the frat house or one of the buildings they'd have us in. We would just sleep right there on the floor like dogs. And we didn't want to go home. We wanted to stay. We wanted to go to another gig. Still, you know what it's like, when you're playing band and you're on the road. As soon as you're done with the gig, you wake up in the morning. You want to go to the next town. You don't want to go back home. Hey, maybe after you do about 7 or 8 of those towns, you want to go back home. Thinking about that. That's crazy. Because this next song I wanted to play is about just what I was just talking about. When you're living a great life, you know it. Whenever you're home, you're happy to be at home. But when you're on the road, you're happy to be on the road. So no matter where you are, you're finding that goodness. And I've been lucky enough to be one of those guys. But this song is about, it's called Coming Home. I wrote it during a Steeler game. And I want to see what you think of it. Oh, I have to get my, I forgot to grab it. Give me 1 second. I want to get my capo. But that, uh-oh, this ain't working. The capo is, I use it a good gag on stage. I'll always hold my capo up and I'll say, does anyone know what this is? And somebody will always say, that's a capo for your guitar. And I say, no. It might appear to be a capo, but what it really is, it's a Major League Texas ass grabber. You get some good meat in there. And I keep my Texas ass grabber in this little man purse. How do you guys like my man purse? Do you think it's cool? I just bet you do. Capo, combination ass grabber. It's all good. Yeah, I got a good song for you here. It's called Coming Home. And I hope each and everybody out there in Facebook live stream land loves going home, because that means you have a great home life. And having a great home life is what it's all about, right? You get home, you take off your shoes, take a stance, drop your shit can and let one go. You're home. Nobody raises a stink about it. Well, you just raised a stink, but no one raises a stink about the stink you just raised, because you're home. That's where you're supposed to do those kinds of things. My dad taught me that. My dad taught me, you know, the men fart at the dinner table. That's what they do. And the women, they find it disgusting. And that strikes a balance. And that's the yin and the yang of men and women. You know, a guy asked me the other day, says, what's the difference between men and women? I'll say, I'll tell you the difference. Men wear clothes, women wear outfits. That's the biggest difference that I've noticed. I was born to run, scattered like buckshot from a gun, burning rubber, setting sail, stopping back to get my mail. On and on I go. Now I'm coming home. I've been living fast, and home, that's something I've been looking past. Didn't miss much along the way. Now it's getting clear every day, and I can feel it in my bones. Now I'm coming home. I'm coming home. I'm coming home to the Allegheny, the morning, the Ohio, where the seasons change, sure as those rivers flow. No longer will I roam. Now I'm coming home. I ran all around foggy London town, and I walked the streets of LA. Now that I've seen spectacles, I know there ain't no miracle quite like Pennsylvania rain. Now I'm clinging to my roots, giving up with these walking boots. Seen most all there is to see. Now I know there ain't no place that I'd rather be. Getting off the nowhere road. Now I'm coming home. Sing it with me. I'm coming home. I'm coming home to evergreen forest and mountains topped with snow, blue summer skies, autumn's golden glow. No longer will I roam. Now I'm coming home, coming home, coming home. Here I come, crawling out of the truck, smelling like last night's show. How you doing? I'm a-coming home. Felt pretty good, right? Hope y'all locked into your homes in this time of lockdown. What do you think about that? Don't answer that. Kind of freaked out, right? You know, let me tell you something. I'm a really lucky person because me and my old lady get along pretty good. Been together many, many, many years. And we actually like each other, and we hang out pretty good together. We get along pretty slick like that. But I can imagine if you don't get along with your old lady, and she don't get along with you, and you're locked down for a couple, 2-3 months. Oh my aching shit can, are you kidding me? Someone's going to be getting a couple slaps across the fotch. You know how that goes. I was talking to my cousin out in Vegas. I used to have a couple cousins out in Vegas. My cousin Larry, he was one of the greatest human beings that ever lived. Larry, in fact, when I met Larry Seifers back in Shadyside, back in the early 1970s, Larry was standing on the street playing his goddamn flute, looking like a combination of Jesus Christ meets Charles Manson. And he was a total freak of a man. And he was playing his goddamn flute on the street of Shadyside, which is where all the young people would hang. And I'm watching him from across the street. I'm going, look at this character. And there were a lot of young, good-looking young girls standing there watching him play his goddamn flute. And I'm thinking, what the hell's going on here? This guy, this Jesus Christ Charles Manson clone is over there. He's calling him in. He's calling him in. Is he a closer? I don't know. He don't look like a closer. So I'm thinking, all this guy needs to really make his dreams come true is a guy like me. A guy that can close deals. And I thought, I'm going to have to meet this guy. So I ended up going over and meeting him, and we ended up talking, and told him I was a half-assed musician, and I could see that he was already a musician. And then he said, what's your name? I said, my name's Norman Nardini. He said, Nardini. He says, do you have a cousin named Larry Nardini? I said, I do. That's my dad's brother's son. He said, I went to high school with him. I said, how great is that? And he goes like this. He says, every day, as soon as I got to school, on the intercom, they would say, would Larry Nardini please go to the principal's office? And I said, that sounds like my cousin Larry. Cousin Larry was the most amazing person. I'm not comfortable enough on these broadcasts here to tell you all my great Larry Nardini stories. But he made up his own words in his own language, and when he walked into a room, everybody shut up and let Larry carry the ball. Except his father, my Uncle Larry, who was just as great as his son, my cousin Larry. The Larrys were phenomenal people. But I was talking to my other cousin in Vegas, John Greco. And he was talking about watching the broadcast last week that we did, the live stream. And he says, man, you should think about talking about some of the things from the old days. I don't know if he used the word nostalgia, but yesteryear and things like that. He says, that Eaten Alive album. And I thought, well, we have the Eaten Alive album cover sitting here. How handsome it is. That's me and Ray Gunn right there on the cover. And when I look at it, I just think about that time of life. And what an amazing, I got a copy of it right here. What an amazing time that was. And here's something I remember about cutting this album. When we cut the album, we knew we got a date playing for WMMS, which would do what they called coffee break concerts. And they were like early in the morning, I can't remember what time, 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. And they would broadcast a live band playing all the time. So we got that gig. And then I knew that there was a studio in the Agora, a multi-track studio, where they used to have 2-inch tape. Remember 2-inch tape? Probably don't. I do. So what I did was I called, I'm not sure whether it was David or Herman Granati or the guys at Jerry's studio, and I said, I need some tape. So anyway, I bought a couple of reels of 2-inch tape, and it was the Granati brothers tape that they had used and were done using it. It was all filled with their stuff. And we ended up using that tape, took that to Cleveland. When we left the day before the gig, and I sequestered. See, now our whole country's sequestered right now. I never used the word sequestered before, so I'm having a little trouble saying it. Sequestered. 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 So I sequestered the tigers. And they were animals, honestly. Every goddamn one of them. Think about it. Whitey Cooper. He was kind of like the normal one, if you want to say. I mean, I don't know. I know that sounds crazy to say, but maybe he was the most normal of the Tigers. Paul Shook, who was just an amazing. Every time I think of him, I just smile because he had them pretty blue eyes. One of the prettiest Polish boys ever walked the planet. Clumsy as an ox. He'd come in stumbling, knocking over. He had them pointy goddamn rock and roll shoes on. He'd trip over stuff, knock things over. Women would come over and help him up and tell him how cute he was and how nice his arms and chest looked. I never had none of that shit going for me. But I respected that he did. Nason Gig, Bull Balls, who was really half man, half animal, and just really a piece of work. He and I got along really good together. And Mr. Ray Gunn, who was the first Tiger. And so I sequestered the guys. We all stayed in the room. I probably got a couple 6-packs or a half a case or a case, and we just drank beer and smoked joints. Smoking joints would keep the Tigers pretty calm. And we had to do that. You know, you had to sedate these young honcho bucks of boys. Leather pants, strong desires to be around others, and strong desires to mess with the women folk. But I kept them sequestered in a room, and we all behaved really well that night. Not like some other stories that I have where I was sequestered and I didn't stay sequestered. I snuck out like a little monkey into the night on the streets of L.A. Ended up doing the Dick Clark show, but that's another story. Well, anyway, we went in and we just did this record. And I don't even think we even thought about being a record. You know, we didn't even think much about... We were recording what we did. We were documenting who we were at the time. And at the time, I knew that people were really excited about us and what we were doing and where we were playing. But I didn't feel that it was... I didn't know. I didn't think it was world class. I just thought we were just being another rock band and having fun and doing our way of making rock and roll. Pittsburgh, east side of Pittsburgh. You know, I never thought of us as the best musicians in the Tigers. And put it like this. It wasn't like all the other band leaders around the country were trying to steal my guys. That isn't what was going on. We were like a neighborhood band. And although we weren't all from the same neighborhood, we all felt as though we were. And we were all disciples of what I had been doing in the Diamonds before the Tigers, which was a very manful kind of rock and roll. But we cut this stuff at the Agora, and I didn't think much of it. And when we got the tapes back, I listened to it, and I actually took it up to Jerry's studio, and we put it up and just started mixing it and laying it down, and I thought it was cool. I didn't think it was all that great. Which, I gotta say this, all these years later, when I listen to that record, I do think it's kind of great. Because it was a documentation of who we happened to be. We recorded again for CBS. And when we recorded for CBS, it wasn't us being us. This was the Eaten Alive record is what the Tigers were. A little bit out of tune, a little bit out of time, a little bit ratty, a little bit crazy, but with all kind of heart and all kind of pain. And just out there strutting for the sake of strutting, you know, for the sake of being young and good looking. Hey, how you doing? You know what I mean? There's something about being that guy and the physicality of the rhythms that we would use when I was in the Diamonds. I learned about standing on stage in front of a big crowd. There'd be all these people out there. What are you gonna do when you get up there? You know, you can shrink into a shell, or you can look at those people out there and after doing it a couple times and being in that circumstance, what happened to me is I would say, no, if we would have done a rhythm like this, we would have played something that started like this with this drum beat and this bass part, I know we could have got them people moving. And then if we had words that were about this, and that's how I got into writing songs, really by watching crowds and being on stage and not accomplishing what I hoped we could. And when I left the Diamonds and we started the Tigers, one thing that I kept and I think that I brought to the Tigers that made us more competitive than the other bands was those things that I had learned from playing on big shows with bigger bands and with better musicians and better writers and more intelligent people. Because we were doing all that crap. But what I was learning was what the crowds wanted was this certain beat and this certain feel and this young physicality. And we brought all that to the Tigers, and the Eaten Alive record is a picture of that. It's not perfect, but it's perfect. It was perfect for who we were and what we were. So in my mind, this Eaten Alive album that we did all those years ago, it came out in 1981, really is something special. And I know when we finished actually when we cut it, the first song on the album, which was Rock and Roll Man, they missed it, recorded it. So we actually had to cut that in the studio to get it to go along with the rest of the album. And then I know the Burning Up, the tape wasn't even rolling when we started playing the song, but we put it on there anyway because you can do that on live albums because you're catching magic. You're like that nerd out there with the butterfly net trying to catch your butterfly. You're doing that with music, and that's how we did that. But when the record was done, I had been hanging out in New York a lot and meeting folks up there and getting in, jumping in bed with some business people that I was hoping that could help me start a career in the city. And a buddy of mine hooked me up with the biggest gangster of the music business, and I didn't even realize who it was. It was Morris Levy, and he owned the Buddha Records, which was being run by Art Cass at the time. My friend was named Jack Kreisberg. Whitey Cooper used to always call him Jesus Kreisberg. And I would go, dude, that's just like so effing wrong that you do that. And he would just smile and shake his head. He says, Jesus Kreisberg called. And I'm like, dude, how great is that, right? But anyway, and whenever we took it to those guys at Buddha, they wanted it. And I said to them, I don't want to sign with the label. I just want to lease it to you guys for like whatever it was, I think 4 or 5 years. And they were like, great, that's what we want to do too. So we put it out on the Buddha label. And I think I told the story last week about me smoking a joint in Morris Levy's office. And that was the album we were promoting, Eaten Alive, when I smoked that joint in Morris Levy's office. And Tom just put up a couple pictures of the Diamonds, which is really where I believe the Pittsburgh music scene started. We were the band that played original music in the bars in the 70s that people came out to see. We had a semi-hit record with Ain't That Peculiar, which was kind of a pop thing, but Bubs McKeag sang it. And it was a killer record, and it was a pop record. But once that happened, we became more of a dangerous kind of like underground, somewhere between ZZ Top meets the Sex Pistols kind of band. We were really doing something unique, and it was so natural for us to be those guys. And that was the first band that people started coming to see, that there was no hype. It was just like, you see what the Diamonds are doing? Them guys are crazy. It was Warren King on guitar, who was just a serious gunslinger. He was really a magic piece of meat. And Frank Zori out front, who was beautiful, was really writing well at the time, and performing at a extremely high level. I was playing bass and putting the music together, and Robbie Johns is playing drums. And Robbie Johns and I were like this here. We used to live together, sleep together, do terrible things together. He was like, he was like a second half to me. We were that close. And I think him being that close with me helped me get the Diamond started, because I had one guy with me that was in agreement with me, and that was the beginning of the band, was me and Robbie Johns. Then we got McKeag involved, then Frank, and it grew from there. But the relationship between me and Robbie Johns, two East Siders, we were second generation rock and roll guys. The first generation was McKeag, Frank Zori, Jeff Bobulo. Those guys were, we needed them to complete our vision, which was having a real music band from Pittsburgh. And we had no idea what the hell we were doing. We didn't even know what it meant to compete. But once we started playing with bands like Aerosmith, Kiss, Ted Nugent, Blue Oyster Cult, Kansas, all them bands. We would do dates with those guys and started learning quick. I was sucking in everything that every word everyone said. I watched them. I would watch them do their interviews backstage. I would watch their roadies set up the gear. All that crap. I just was like a sponge. I just knew that I was going to stay in this business of rock and roll. I didn't know what I was playing bass at the time, And I didn't see myself as doing anything other than that. But that's all I was doing. And it was beautiful. Hey, man, I'm glad we're here together. Hey, I want to thank you guys for tuning in and watching. And last time we did this 2 weeks ago, we had folks from all over the planet Earth. A couple folks from Japan. My buddy Max out of New York City. Got a shop over there, and some of his folks were tuning in. My buddy James Dog Dilly out in LA. A lot of my friends from Jersey have been tuning into last week, and hopefully they're back again this week. And I just want to touch them in a special and most manful way. Now get over here! I want to love you up. Hey, what the hell can I do? I'm going to play y'all a song that I wrote recently. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Wrote this recently, I guess probably about a year or two ago. And I've been playing Friday nights at the Starlight for 4 years straight. And when you play the same gig every Friday night, which is nice because we haven't been traveling a ton, you know you're going to be there. And so I would write songs that I didn't have to rehearse with the band. I would write a song and then the band would get there and I would just say, hey, you do this, bing bang, and then we do a brand new song. And so I started writing, I call it writing to form, which is, you write to blues forms or rock forms that all the musicians are used to. And that way I could continue to bring in new material without having to have rehearsals and get old dudes to come out of the house and learn this and learn that. And I mean, I also wrote songs that are more complicated. But writing to form kept me vital and kept the band on their toes because they'd be playing shit they didn't know for the first time. And this is one of them hunks of meat. And when I introduced this song live on stage, I always say, I'd like to send this out to any men here tonight, whatever might have fallen in love with a crazy woman. And then I say, don't raise your hands. I don't want to see anybody get bitch slapped right here. Good one, right? So no one would raise their hands, but I could see it on their faces. And I could see their old ladies all going like this. And they're striking that pose like they're ready to... If you say anything, you're catching one right across the fotch. Prick you. But it goes both ways. How many women have fallen in love with crazy men? You kidding me? I got crazy buddies. All my buddies are crazy. My old lady told me one time, she says, you need to find some better friends. And I was like, new friends. She goes, no, better friends. Better. And then she'd laugh. Because she knows. She knows what's up. See what you think of this hunk. Wait a minute, I got one of them soft picks. See this pick here is like a candy ass pick. I don't use those candy ass picks. I don't know how that got. Someone snuck that into my pants just to make me feel small and weak. And I don't need any assistance in feeling small and weak. I can do that all by myself. Wasn't that a Barry Manilow song? No. How about Moondog calls me one day, this is a couple years ago, Moondog calls me, he goes, dude, did you hear the news? He says, Barry Manilow announced that he was gay. He said, I could have told him that 10 years ago. He had to announce that he was gay, like we didn't know. Are you kidding me? Hey Barry, nobody's mad at you. What the hell's the difference? Look at you. You came and you gave. My buddy Sid McGuinness, one of the first guys I knew that got a money gig. Sid McGuinness, a guitar player from Penn Hills, Jefferson Road. His father was a mailman. Sid and I used to play with a band called Borrowed Time down in Kentucky, and then when Sid moved to the coast, I think his first money gig was playing with Barry Manilow. And then he fell in with Paul Schaefer. And he ended up doing 20 years as the guitar player on David Letterman's show. He would play that yellow Strat. Real good guy. But I remember I did some sessions with Paul Schaefer in the 1980s up in New York City for a record I was doing with Rick Derringer and Dr. John. And I know this, Paul Schaefer, He ain't smoking the bunk, though. No, he ain't smoking the bunk. High level all day. You wake and bake. If you can't hang, you don't belong. I love when my guitars make noise and amps and hissing. It's like it's like after you eat a good meal, your stomach's growling and you're farting and you're smelling yourself. That's what my guitars are all like. How you doing? She don't like nobody. You can't tell her a thing. Leaves are changing colors. She'll tell you that it's spring. She crazy. Tell you 1 and 1 is 3. She crazy as can be. The same kind of crazy as me. Well, she don't get along with her sister. Don't talk to her brother no more. Her ex got a PFA on her. She fight with the neighbors next door. She crazy. Like a monkey in a tray. She crazy as can be. The same kind of crazy as me. Well, she crazy. Certified crazy. Got the evil eye. Crazy. Last time I was in jail. Crazy. Bitch wouldn't pay my bill. She crazy as can be. The same kind of crazy as me. Well, sometimes we fight with each other. You can hear us all over town. We make up in the bedroom. I'm picking up what she's putting down. She crazy. Make love passionately. She crazy as can be. The same kind of crazy as me. Well, she crazy. Out of the room. Crazy. Walk in the room. Crazy. Crazy. She crazy as can be. The same kind of crazy. Crazy as can be. The same kind of crazy. Well, she's crazy as can be. The same kind of crazy as me. She crazy. You know her. She might be in your family. You know it. She crazy as can be. Hey, dearly beloved, we gathered together here. East Side Sound Studio. You're hanging with the Wop at the Bop. The Guido. And the Speedo. The Greaser, who's our lady, Palisa. The uncrowned king. I want to read you something that my friend Larry G out of New York suggested that I do. I don't know if you know Larry G. We call him Germaxel. He said, you can download my music, whole LPs or single tracks, and whole LPs all for under $10 on Amazon or iTunes. And we have Notorious, Bonafide, Redemption, It's Alive, Breakdown in Paradise and This Old Train. This Old Train came out in the early 90s. It had Smoke Two Joints on it. And it was a really cool piece of work. And it was on Circumstantial, which was Larry's label. And then Breakdown in Paradise. Both of those album covers were shot by our friend Pam Bryan. And Breakdown was shot down in Braddock, right on the water. And in the background, you can see Kennywood across the river. You can see the roller coasters like in the foliage of the trees. Really cool. Next would be Eaten Alive. It's Alive. And It's Alive is the record where my face looks like Frankenstein's. It's all green. Which is another pretty cool live record. And that was actually cut live in the studio. And I remember that when we cut that. It's a great story. We cut it live in the studio, and we invited a lot of our friends, crazy people, and people that were into our music. And right before we went on stage, our buddy Declan Mahoney, who has passed on now, but Declan came in about 20 minutes before we went on stage, and he says, "Dude, we got to go upstairs." So we went up to the top room of the studio, and he broke out some amazing green reefer he just brought back from Hawaii. And before we went on stage, we all smoked together as men. And we tuned the band up to a high level. And then we went downstairs and we made the It's Alive record. And I think anytime I think of Declan, I think about what a great day we had that day. And how great it was that he came in and elevated us beyond our wildest dreams. And when we started playing, we all just looked at each other like, dude! It was just me, Whitey, and Harry. 3 players, and we all sang, and a really cool band. We did about 10 years, maybe more, with that lineup together. And that was just really like a dangerous little unit. We were like a self-contained little, like a little time bomb. 3 guys, all sang. They would just put us on shows with other bands, and we would just come out and just kick ass. People say, "Who are you? Where are you from?" We're from the east side of Pittsburgh. We're East Siders. We're the rock and roll people. Also, Redemption, which was made in the 2000s. And that was a record, when we made that, I wanted to cut a lot of the stuff that I had cut when I was in the Tigers and towards the end of the Diamonds that I didn't get a chance to cut well. And I hadn't worked on my guitar playing or my singing much at that point. And so there was a lot of songs that I really liked. In fact, all of them ones that we did, I don't know that I didn't like any of them, but I just wanted to get them all cut again with the new level of proficiency that we had developed. So Redemption was an album of us cutting songs that had been cut before and that had people that we knew people liked. And I thought that would interest maybe some of the folks in Pittsburgh radio, because not this way I would know that they would have music from the local rock and roll revolution in Pittsburgh, and they would have them cut at a very high level. And I was a little disappointed to find out that Pittsburgh radio wasn't concerned about the history of Pittsburgh music at the time. And I just thought it was I really thought we were offering something that we could have all wrapped ourselves around, the beginning of rock and roll music here in Pittsburgh. I mean, that you could say the beginning was with Jimmy Beaumont, and you'd be right. And I totally understand. I got total respect for Jimmy. I don't know if I ever told you, I when Jimmy was the Skyliners, as their stage of development, they had already had their big hits records, and a lot of time had passed. So this was now in the early 70s, and they were not quite and their hits were in the late 50s and 60s. So as they're in the studio cutting, and I got a chance to go in and watch Jimmy work with just me, Jimmy, our engineer Michael Hasten, and Joe Rock. And I watched Joe Rock record Jimmy, and how fantastic he was. I had worked with McKagan, Frank Sori, and Pete Hewlett, some very fine singers. But when I watched Jimmy sing, I was just like, oh my God. So bowled over and so impressed by his ability to just sing without rehearsing it, or change the melody and just improvise. It was all there right at his fingertips, and it's just poured out of his pretty face. And I just thought, wow, I was another time I was lucky enough to be in the studio with some greatness, and in this case, Pittsburgh greatness. And maybe I should talk about that a little bit. What a great time it was around 1973. This crazy guy started a studio in East Liberty. It was called Fox Studio, and once I heard about it, I went down there to hang out, and I realized that there might be a chance for me to do some things there. I was playing with Robbie Johns and Bubs McKay. We had like a little lounge band, and we were playing downtown. And when I got in the studio, I didn't really have the kind of skills that a lot of other guys did, but I had skills that I could do. That I could write lead sheets, and I could play bass. I could play a little bit of keys. I could play a little bit of guitar, pedal steel. I could play, and so I would get all the grub work, and I was kind of like, and the janitor work as well. And it was really cool because there was a lot of musicians were coming in there and hanging, and I got to watch once again like Peter Ulick, Ronnie Bird Foster. McKay, Frank Zori, Warren King, Cordell Dudley, who was playing with Billy Cox, who had been playing with Jimi Hendrix. They came and they were rehearsing at the studio. Remember Little Latin Loop-de-Loo? There was a guy named Johnny Thunder that had a record called Little Latin Loop-de-Loo. He came there, Grace Slick. And I remember, this is a great time. I don't know if I've ever talked about this. But when I'm working at that studio, a lot of the record company promotion guys would hang out there, and we were all getting high together. I mean, that's just the way it was. A lot of reefer, powder, all that crap. And I remember, like, the Columbia rep was hanging out at the studio, and he said, we want to put a party on, and we want to just play a song. And we had never heard of this before. And like, what's up with this? And the guy said, we have this new artist that we think is going to be huge. And he's working on his new album, and it's taken a long time, longer than we had expected. But we have this song that we want everyone to hear that's going to tell everybody about this new guy who's going to be the new wonderful rock and roll cat. The song was Born to Run, and the artist was Bruce Springsteen. And they put a party together just so people could come in and sit in the studio and hear the song Born to Run. I mean, what a different time in American music history. I mean, I don't even think record companies have promo guys anymore. But every company had a promo guy, and every promo guy knew all the locals and knew all the stations. All the people that ran the stations used to come to our studio and hang out. We'd all just get high together. And just bullshit and spend time just talking about music and listening. And I was talking to my buddy Ron Chavis, who was a DJ for the station, YDD, I think it was called. And I did his theme song back then. But there was a huge innocence in the record business, and a huge innocence to some bad things, like casual drug use was normal. And it led to a lot of people screwing up. But that was part of how we all came to realize that hard drugs are hard drugs, and you got to be cool, But that we learned it the hard way, and I guess every generation does. But I'm just talking about how it was with our generation. But that was all at Fox Studio, and it was really an education into music business. I had played in lounge bands, which I hated, and cover bands and all that, and hanging out that studio was my start of finding out there was a business, and there were people who were in the business, and you could know these people because they were people just like you were people. Hey, I want to play you a song on the keys. It's a song I wrote probably about 10 years ago, and I wrote it for my niece, and then I wrote it again about 5 years ago, rewrote it, and now I rewrote it again, and I hope I don't screw it up, but I want to send it out to my niece Tara, who's my sister's first, and I'm her Uncle Norm. No, let me rephrase that. I'm her crazy Uncle Norm, because she's a regular person. I don't know if I would call me a regular person. I would call me maybe a bit of a, nutbag. Okay. I just rewrote the words, so I have to look at the words a little bit. Let's see what we got here. Oh, wow. I'm trying to see. What amp am I going to? Oh. Okay, there we go. Okay. I'm not all that good at this keyboard stuff, but I'm really enjoying doing it. So humor me if I screw up, which I will. Just go like this here. Cut me a little and say, you know what? That old hack. We've seen him make mistakes on guitar so many times. Why should we care that he's making mistakes on keys? I remember not so long ago when you came into this world. And I remember just how innocent you were as a little girl. Then it happened so fast, don't time pass. All the memories we shared, I watched you from a bundle of joy to a little tomboy, to a young lady so fair that every time I see your face, I just smile, 'cause you're all grown up now. I remember like it was yesterday, hearing you and your grandpap singing. And I'll never forget all the Christmas Eves doing the family thing. Years pass by, don't time fly, we still got something to share as we watch your bundles of joy grow from babies to boys and young men. Now I swear every time I see them boys, I just say wow, 'cause they're all grown up now. When you were a child, I always knew that you'd come through. Now that you're all grown up, there ain't nothing you can do. Now you hear me applaud as you take your bow, 'cause you're all grown up, all grown up, all grown up, all grown up now. You're all grown up now. You're all grown up now. How you doing? Send it out to my niece Tara. And when I think about Tara, she spent a lot of time with my father. And I think about my dad how crazy the world has changed. When Tara was a little girl, my dad used to take her to the bar with him. And every time he'd get a shot, she'd get a shot. He'd get a shot, and it'd been an iron, and she'd get it like a little shot of Pepsi or a little shot of milk. And then once my dad would get a few in him, then he would get my niece Tara to dance on the bar for all his buddies. And every time I see her as a grown woman, I think about her being a little girl. My old man driving her home from the bar, stone cold, plowed after her dancing on the bar. And I just think about that, how fantastic it is. But yeah, she's all grown up now, and her boys are grown up, and I just thought it'd be a good idea to put that song. I like writing songs for my family. You know, I wrote another song for her sister, Rena. It's called New Blood. And in New Blood, I remember I took the baby and I held her up, and when she was born at the hospital, I held her up like they did in the movie Roots. And the nurse came over, put that baby down. I don't know who you think you are. I got yelled at for picking my niece up and swinging her around. How you doing? Did you ever try doing that? Maybe you should. And then I think about, you know what I was thinking about today? My grandpa Bernie. He come over from Italy, very young. And then I think they had to get him out of Italy because a lot of times, a lot of these boys that they sent over from Italy, they sent him here because there was fathers of young girls that wanted them out of the country because these guys were aggressive and I don't know what they were. But they sent him over here. But they sent Ernie to America, and he was fantastic. My dad's father. He used to go like this. Baseball, feetsball, swimming in the tank. We got the money, but the money's in the bank. And then he'd laugh. And then he'd say, what was his other one? Oh, he'd go, rock on the ocean, rock on the sea. I'm going to do to you what you do to me. And every time I'd see him, he'd tell the same stories. When I moved out of my parents' house when I turned 18, as soon as I moved out, my grandfather moved in. They gave him my room. And then that was like I was on my own from now. There was no moving back. Like a lot of, nowadays, a lot of guys, they don't even move out of their parents' house. When we were young, when you were 18, you were on your own. You were finding a job or doing whatever you had to do to start your own life. That was our generation. This generation isn't so much like that. I see it. I see a lot of the kids staying real close to, not that I wasn't close with my parents and I didn't love them. I just knew that I had to make my own life. And it was out there for me. I moved into, I would just move in with other people. I was living in a closet with McKagan, Frank, and Gentile and all them guys. With their band, they just let me live in their closet because they rented an apartment because they had a band that was making money. So when I lived with them, and then that's when I came out of the closet. You kidding me? Give me a little something, right? I used to say years ago, I says, I'm such a little guy. I couldn't have come out of the closet. I had to come out the cupboard. That's a good one, right? You know it is. Don't try to pretend like you're not laughing, because I'll come over there. And I'll give you a smack or two. I hope you like All Grown Up. I thought that was a pretty cool piece of music. Let's talk about something that I think we all need to talk about, especially music people. Songs. Songs are, for me, they've become my chance to chip in. My chance to talk about society as it is today. Or society as it was, just about how people are. And, some people write books, other people write short stories, poetry, movies. Me, it's songs. And we talked about that a couple weeks ago when we did this thing. And right now I'd like to get into that a little bit. I got a song I wrote that I don't know that I've ever played it out. I might have played it by myself once or twice on those Starlight Friday nights. Oh, and while we're at it, I have to say hi to my friend Moondog. Hi, Moon! If I don't say hi to him, he'll go insane and call my house 20 times. We breaking up. Don't you love me anymore? All right. But let's get back to the songs. This is songs, I think, and I talk, the way I'm talking is because I've worked with other people that are interested in writing songs and are attempting to write songs. And one thing I want to talk about today is characters, is the character of the song. Who's the song about? Or who are the characters in the song? And this first thing I want to do is it's a song about somebody. And I want to work it for you and see what you think. This is about somebody that you don't know. Maybe I know this person. Maybe I don't. I've said it before. I never let the truth get in the way of a good story. But check this out. This is a piece of music. I hope I remember it all. And one thing I'll say this, so that when I screw it up, you can even say more. What a goofball I am. The better the lyrics are written, the easier it is to remember them. And so I have to say that before I even try to remember them. And so to put myself in the frying pan, so that if I didn't write good lyrics and I forget them, well, then there it is. Is it that I didn't write good lyrics, or is it that I just forgot because I'm an old stoner? Does it matter? Here we go. Check this piece of music out. She don't really care if anybody's looking. Be all by herself, and you can catch her cooking. She got all the moves when she shake it on down. She get out on the floor and people gather around. She got the boom boom when she walks into the room. She got the boom boom, danger loom. She got the boom boom, spells impending doom. She got the boom boom, she dropped the bomb. All the guys want to see her. They love to look upon. All the girls want to be her. She got it going on. Baby shake and shimmy when the music start to play. Ain't nobody with a heartbeat could ever look away. She got the boom boom. She got the boom boom in the body, the boom boom in her brain, boom boom in her blood running through her veins, boom boom up above, boom boom down below, boom boom all around her, head to toe. She got the boom boom. Everybody's talking how baby strut her stuff. I was watching her myself, and I couldn't get enough. You know, I saw her mother walking just the other day, and now I know the reason baby moved that way. If baby died and went to heaven, St. Pete would let her in. He'd say, baby got the boom boom. And that ain't never been no sin. She got the boom boom when she walk into the room. She got the boom boom, danger loom. She got the boom boom, spells impending doom. She got the boom boom, she dropped the bomb. How you like me now? Boom boom, what do you think? Do you feel like you know her? Do you feel like you've met her? Or you've seen her walking down Monongahela Avenue? Maybe you have. When she walks, she got the boom boom. You know what I'm saying? Characters. Who is this person? I told you last week about a young lady, Danny Carr, down in Nashville, working on some Norman music. Beautiful young girl, finding her real life singing voice at a young age. What a great gift. She's working up a song now that I wrote probably about 10 years ago. I had Sherry Richards sing it for me one time. And when I wrote this piece, another picture of a character. We're talking, boom, boom, talking about somebody. Describe them. Like you feel like you know them. Now we're doing this again. And when both of these pieces of music written, I was thinking of the pictures of them. The video. This song here, Pennsylvania Rain is the name of it. When we think about it, I was writing the video as I'm writing the song. Same with Boom Boom. I'm writing the video as I'm writing the song. So, Pennsylvania Rain would be something like this here. She dragged herself off the bed and walked to the kitchen door. Stood there thinking about the hole in her soul until she couldn't take it no more. Ran out of the house, threw her hands to the sky, looked up to the heavens, and started to cry. Now she's standing in a Pennsylvania rain. Sorry. It's pouring down, washing away her pain. She got so much hurt deep in her heart. Now all she needs is a fresh start. Those blue yesterdays are going down the drain as she's standing in a Pennsylvania rain. She pulled off a back road and turned up her radio. I forgot the words. She pulled off the back road and turned up her radio. She sang along to her favorite song as she opened up her door. Then she started dancing on a double yellow line, and she knew in that moment everything would be fine. Now she's dancing in a Pennsylvania rain, pouring down, washing away her pain. She had so much hurt deep in her heart. Now she's getting her fresh start. Those blue yesterdays are going down the drain as she's standing in a Pennsylvania rain. When it's raining in these mountains, everything turns green. Starting life all over. It happens every spring. Now you can hear that girl sing. She's out there dancing in the midnight air. Cars are driving by and she don't care. She's dancing in a Pennsylvania rain, pouring down, washing away her pain. She had so much hurt deep in her heart. Now that girl got her fresh start. Those blue yesterdays all went down the drain as she's dancing in, singing in a Pennsylvania rain. Feel me now. You see what I'm saying? It's like a video. That's what we're doing. We're painting that picture. You can see her at her worst, laying on the bed. Gets herself up, forlorn. I love that word. All forlorn. She gets out in the rain. It starts coming down upon her. And slowly but surely, later that night, she's driving in her car. And then, boom, she's clean. It's all behind her. She douched it. She had an old life douche. Now she's fresh. And she's out there dancing on a double yellow line. How you like me now? But that's, once again, a picture of the lyrics. Painting the picture. For you, you can see the person. And everybody that's listening to that song sees a different person. They see someone in their life or who they can make up their own visual. But we're offering, as writers, we're offering them the chance to get to know this person that may or may not exist. Let me read you one. I can't recite this one, but I want to read you another lyric that I think you might like. This is another way of getting with a lyric. Another way of taking someone, and another way of letting the storyline sneak up upon you and creep inside your cranium. So before you know it, you're feeling for the people in the songs. And that's the trick to writing. You want those listeners to feel like they know and have sympathy or anger or love for all those different things, because you're creating characters, and one thing people like is other people. Or one thing people don't like is other people. However you want to deal with it. Check this piece out. He was just a kid, but he knew what he wanted. Made his proposal with this ring that he'd bought her. She said she wasn't ready and hoped he'd understand. But he'd made up his mind. He was going to be her man. So he kept hanging on till she come around. And he finally heard those wedding bells because he stood his ground. They raised a couple kids, and after they were grown, they lived for each other in this little house they owned. And he said, I ain't ever going to let you go. I'm always going to be there. You won't ever have to be alone. I'll follow you anywhere. I'll be right by your side long after the glow. Baby, I ain't ever going to let you go. All those years together, through the worse and the better, his love kept getting stronger. Said it was all about her. Said he couldn't live without her. All about her. And a love that had no end. Since he was just a kid, she was all he ever wanted. And he gave her his heart with that ring that he'd bought her. And on the day she passed away, she heard those words again. He felt her last heartbeat and put a gun to his head. And said, I ain't never going to let you go. I'm always going to be there. You will never have to be alone. I'll follow you anywhere. I'll be right by your side long after the glow. Baby, I ain't ever going to let you go. The lyrics, a song, people, their life. You know, this song here is a true story. It don't have to be true, but it is. And it's a true song to me, and I just thought it was, we got boom boom and we have some fun and stuff like that. But then you take a song like this that tells the true story of just a couple beautiful people in their simple lives and how this was what their life was. And now we know that. And now we have that to look upon as we live our lives, as we move forward. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I just thought I don't want to be a bummer and dork you out here, but I just thought I should stick that in your ear and let you see what can happen. Let's have back to some fun stuff. Here's another one that you've all heard. You've heard me play it with the band. And when I first wrote it, a lot of songs, when I say write to form, that would be the chord structure. And like when you write to form, sometimes you can, once you're in that form, you can take that beat and make it be a straight rock and roll beat. Or you can swing it. And you can take those same set of lyrics and cut it 3 or 4 different ways. And depending on who you are as an artist. And I do it myself because I'm a rock and roll guy, but I like the blues and I like country. And so I'll take all those 3 different things and go back from one to the other. But check this one out. This is a character piece, very simple. And see what you think of this. And it goes like this here. She was a lady living all by herself. Well, she used to have a man, but now he's spending his time in jail. She didn't go out looking, but now she got something cooking. He was a divorcee, lonely for too long. Went out for cigarettes, came back, and his wife was gone. He didn't go out looking, but now he got something cooking. Near the grocery store by the laundromat, she was waiting for a bus. He was walking his cat when lightning struck. Timber fell. It only goes to show you never can tell. So he told her that he felt a spark, and now they're living on the edge of town in a trailer park. They didn't go out looking, but now they got something cooking. Well, they didn't go out looking, but now they got something cooking. Ain't it funny what you find when you're just passing time? The sweetest little grape hanging on the vine. No, they didn't go out looking, but now they got something cooking! Yes! 2 people. And when I do it on gigs, I always say, it's a song about a couple of losers that find each other. And before you know it, they got a trailer out on the edge of town where they're hunching like a couple of monkeys, okay? Something's cooking. But you can play, how the hell did I do that? You can, she was a lady living all by herself. Well, she used to have a man, but now he spent his time in jail. Well, they didn't go out looking. They got something cooking. Like that. And that's kind of the way we did it. And when we would do it, we would use that, what they call a flat tire shuffle, where the drums sound like a garbage truck going down the alley behind your house, and you could see the flies, and you could smell the truck as it comes past. The flat tire shuffle. Stutzo does it. Oh, by the way, that song, I just heard that the Nighthawks cut that on their latest record, and I believe my friend Mark Stutzo, who sings his shit can off, sings that. Also, I heard that they cut, I think I Hate a Nickel. I Hate a Nickel and Something's Cooking, I believe, are on the new Nighthawks album. That's what I'm going to think. I got another song with lyrics. Oh, I just want to say hi to my friend Tom, my lovely assistant Tom. Tom, how are you doing back there?
I'm doing all right, Norman.
How are we doing on time? Do you have any idea what time it is?
20 after 8.
It's 20 after 8.
Yeah.
Oh, all I can say is, oh my aching ass. Time sure do fly when you're having fun with some MFers out there in the planet Earth.
And I have one burning question on my mind.
Tom has a question. Yes, Tom.
What's up with you and Billy Price on the cover of Pittsburgh magazine?
Oh wow. Tom's showing me that picture,
This.
and that picture is me playing this guitar before it went bad. Well, it was brand new, and I guess I was still pretty brand new then too. And that's me having a perm in my hair. Which
Yeah, Billy Price is looking pretty young. And
Billy was looking young too,
spry,
and Billy was hot at the time, you know. But I remember I had a perm in my hair, and my dad didn't like it, so I never got one again. Because I come to Sunday dinner at the house, and he's like, "Dude, what's wrong with you? What'd you do there? You shouldn't. That ain't right." And so I never did it again. But that was me at that point, and Billy. And I guess what's crazy is me and Billy are both working still. And actually, Billy's really hot right now, and he's got that Dog Eat Dog record out that is crushing. And I guess they've been pumping it for about the last year and a half, and he's really done well on a national level with it. He cut it out in San Diego there with that, I forget what that guy, Kid Anderson, who's this young European cat. Big. I think he's about to be about 6'2". Big hunk of young meat that producing and writing and working with Billy and doing arrangements. And they really found each other and found something for rhythm and blues music that has some significance today. So I'm real happy for Billy. I know this, that when Billy had the Keystone Rhythm Band in the 90s with one of my heroes, Glenn Pavone, Tommy Valentine on bass, Dave Dodd on drums, monsters. It was a really high-level music act, and it was really a world-class band. And I just wish, our city would have been... and the radio here would have been more committed and understanding how important it would have been for radio to really give that act the lift and the follow-through support. Like, I believe some of the songs on that album should be played on FM radio in Pittsburgh every day since the 90s when those songs came out, because of the significance they had and what it means to a city when you can take acts and keep their songs alive within that city year after year after year, especially when you're doing with a manful kind of music like those guys were. Obviously all these years later, Billy Price is having a national and international success. But sadly, Glenn Pavone, who passed away young, I guess it's 10 years now, if radio had seen the significance of what they were doing in that band, we as a city could have still had Glenn Pavone in our presence on a daily basis, because radio reminded us who we were then, and I just think that's so important that we should have done that as a city to keep our real significant music people alive within the city. New Orleans does it. Austin, Texas does it, Chicago does it. I just wish we were the type of city and had the type of radio intelligence to understand what that means to the culture of the city, and for the young musicians. If you don't have that there, the young guys don't have any heroes that they can look to. You live in Jersey, you got Bruce Springsteen, you got Southside Johnny, you got John Bon Jovi, you got those guys that grew up there, that lived there, and when their music is kept alive, for some kid who's 14 years old right now, he knows who he is through the music of Bruce and Southside and Johnny Bonge. In Philadelphia, they play Tenny Pendergrass, Hall & Oates, the sound of Philadelphia, all that music. That's the culture of that city. And if the city doesn't plug into their own history, well, they're making a mistake. And I just think we should have said that. But Tom had to bring up that picture of me with a perm, and Billy looking all young and handsome. But how great is that, right? I think that was probably in the late 80s that picture was taken. And we were both still Pittsburghers doing our thing, I know in the 70s when Billy came to town, they all went to Penn State together. They had a band called the Rhythm Kings, and they moved to Pittsburgh when they got out of college, which was great. And I ended up seeing them play down in Shadyside, right on Walnut Street, live in the street outside in the summer. And I was just, it was probably about 73 or 74. And I was just so blown away. And so was the city. Those guys worked 6, 7 nights a week, 4 hours a night, one shithole after another. They played them all. Tuesday night, every Tuesday night they were at the same bar. Every Thursday night they were at the same bar. And they had this circuit. And what they did was they took white people and educated white people about the culture of rhythm and blues music, which I had a basic understanding of it because I was a seeker and I seeked out that music and I studied it. But I'm a music guy. How many people did they turn on to rhythm and blues music that didn't go to school with no black people and didn't have the burning desire to understand music more deeply? They turned on legions of people to rhythm and blues music that would have never known it existed. In other words, they added culture to the lives of some white-ass suburbanites that needed culture. The blending of the cultures is up. It's a good thing. People that tell you it isn't, they ain't thinking smart. Tom had to bring up that goddamn picture. I love it.
Stopped me in my tracks.
I stopped him. He says, dude, what are you doing? Hey, check this out. I'm going to have to read this one too. But this is a song that's on the Notorious album. And once again, it's telling you what happened. And it's, I like to say these, when I'm writing songs a lot of times, I'll be thinking of them as a little movie. Or like a show, you know. It's like this can all, everything I'm describing, the actions, and it can all be filmed. There can be characters that play these characters, and the things that they do and how they do them would be the video that you would see that would help you feel the storyline. So let's look at this one here. This is from the Notorious record. And a lot of people, I never really actually played this song out, but a lot of people that hear this song have said that they really found it to be pretty cool. Okay, here it goes. You might know these people in your life. Well, she found it in my stash, and she knows how to use it. Found them pictures of their other women, too. Now she's popping my pills and rolling my smoke, loading my pistol, and drinking my booze. Said they saw her at the quick stop filling up her tank. Said she'd follow me no matter where I go. Then she put the pedal to the metal, and before the dust settled, she was gone in a puff of smoke. She's a girl with a gun and a bad attitude. And there's things that I done got her feeling wild and blue. She's coming undone, but she just needs some time to cool. So for now, I'm on the run from a girl with a gun. Well, she showed up at Mama's place with that pistol in her hand, waving hot metal in the air. Daddy locked the door and laid down on the floor. Mama hid down beneath the basement stairs. So I come busting out the side door and made it to my truck. Started rolling down the road in the wink of an eye. But that redhead was so hot that she took a shot, hit the taillight on the passenger side. She's a girl with a gun and a bad attitude. And there's things that I've done, got her feeling wild and blue. She's coming undone. She just needs some time to cool. But for now, I'm on the run from a girl with a gun. So I'm ripping down the highway and I look in my review and I see that redhead closing in on me. She's all hot up on my stash and I'm running out of gas. Looks like she got me up a tree. So I pull a quick right turn and she just rolls on straight and there's a cop sitting by the underpass. And when he pulls me over, he says, son, you should be going slower. Why was you going so fast? I said, there's a girl with a gun and a bad attitude. And there's things I done got her feeling wild and blue. She's coming undone, but she just needs some time to cool. So for now, I'm on the run from a girl with a gun. Bada boom! Stories. You know, it's just this guy. this chick, she found his stash, and in his stash was his gun, pictures, naked pictures of other women. Shouldn't have done that. His booze, his reefer, some pills, all that. And just a story to be told. Speaking of stories to be told, here's something that when I wrote this, I thought, and I know this sounds crazy. When I wrote this, I was thinking of, like the Twilight Zone. There was like a little bit of a premise to it, and there was, Rod Sterling, he would be there in his jacket smoking his ciggy. Love that. Remember when people used to smoke cigarettes on TV? How cool that was. What a great era. But anyway, I'm trying to think of the other one. Alfred Hitchcock. Those types of shows where there was a semi-continuity to it. Well, this was something I was writing that I thought would be a television show. And every week, the main character of the song would appear, and he would tell you the story that he heard from one of the other characters that appears in the song. And I'm going to recite the words to you, and you'll see what I'm saying when I tell you that this would be a reoccurring television series. And the star of the show would be the character in the first verse. And actually, through the whole song. But the star of the show would be this guy. And he says, I got to remember the first line. And, a lot of times when we're playing gigs, I'll start the song and I won't remember the first line, and then Harry or Whitey will yell out the first line, and then I'm good to go. It's like, and we're off. But wait a minute. Let me get the first line. Graveyard. Here we go. I work all week for a minimum wage, digging holes and cutting grass. I had a gambling debt I couldn't pay. Bookie said, we'll fix that. So every now and then I might get a call to lay a body down double deep, back off the road where only thorn bushes grow. It's a secret that I keep. On the graveyard shift at the graveyard, there ain't a soul around. And this pick and shovel don't hardly make no sound. When I lay a body under before morning comes to town, and the only witness is the moon and stars on the graveyard shift at the graveyard. I got a call to lay a body down, said needed taking care of that night. Said it couldn't wait till a later day. The full moon was shining bright. By the time I finished digging, felt my stomach start to growl. I looked up to see the moon and heard the spirits start to howl. On the graveyard shift at the graveyard, when the full moon comes to town, the spirits all get restless and they make a howling sound. Then it gets a ghostly quiet when morning comes to town. And the only witness is the moon and stars on the graveyard shift at the graveyard. I could hear the voices of all souls been denied. A tombstone and a proper grave on a grassy green hillside where friends and family gather, bow their heads to pray. A preacher and a couple of folks have a few kind words to say. On the graveyard shift at the graveyard, there ain't a soul around. Except that on those evenings, the full moon comes to town. You can hear the spirits howling for all souls left unfound. And the only witness is the moon and stars on the graveyard shift at the graveyard. Bada boom. And what my thing for the television show would be the guy that works at the graveyard every week, he would tell you a story about one of the spirits of the people buried back off the road where only thorn bushes grow. He would tell you why and how he became someone that didn't have the grave, the burial with the tombstone and everybody praying and all that, because he effed up and he did things he shouldn't have done, or life treated him bad or whatever. But that's the premise of the show, is that this guy would tell the story. each story of all these so-called losers that didn't make it to have their own tombstone and be in the graveyard in a legitimate fashion. That was my idea, anyway. Hey, I've never actually done that song live either, but I like it. And the reason I wrote it is because my bass player Harold Gurley Bottoms, by the way, used to work at a graveyard all through the 90s, and I would, as soon as we get in the truck, he'd start talking about all the shit that happened at the graveyard that week. And it got to the point where it's like, all right, dude, okay. And he'd be talking about this and that and who they buried. And he would talk about these real cool names of people that were died in the 1800s and stuff. And he talked, I forget the guy's name, but he talked about a guy that was killed during the Civil War. And he would talk about how he's past his grave and say hello to him every day and stuff. But that got me thinking about that particular song, The Graveyard Shifted to Graveyard. I don't know. I wanted to make a point of talking about some songs that, so that people out there can understand, you know. I don't know that do you ever get to hear Jackson Browne tell you about how he writes songs, or you hear Bruce Springsteen tell you about how he writes songs? Or, you know, Willie Dixon, who wrote all the great blues tunes, you know. I was lucky enough to meet Willie Dixon back in the 70s, in the early 70s. And I only got to hang with him, you know, for maybe an hour. I got to watch him work, and then I helped him roadie out and just glued myself to his side because I just wanted to feel him. And I got to say this about me. I've met a lot of really cool blues people. But meeting Willie Dixon was like meeting a family member that you hadn't known before. He was so warm, so gentle, and so nice, and so respectful. It was just like really cool. And right around the same time I met Big Mama Thornton, and I ended up playing with Big Mama Thornton. I'm slobbering. And I ended up playing with Big Mama Thornton. And Big Mama Thornton was the opposite of Willie Dixon. Willie Dixon was very respectful of others and very thankful for any notoriety that he had gathered together in his life. Big Mama Thornton, on the other hand, was not happy about her lot in life and was not respectful of others. And I remember we were playing at a club called the Jazz Workshop in Boston, Mass. Real famous, real music club in the 70s. And we'd play a song, and at the end of the song, everybody would clap. And I'd be go like, man, this is cool. They're digging us. And Big Mama Thornton would go, what the hell are you clapping about? You don't know nothing. You don't know who I am. You don't know what it took to be here. And she would scold the audience for clapping for her. And she just was not a happy person. So much so that after I played, you know, like a week's worth of dates, minus one gig, because I went to see her one night and she didn't have a guitar player. So the next night she played, I ended up playing the rest of the week with her because she didn't have a guitar player. One didn't come. So anyway, but I was, it made me think about maybe at the time I'm like 20, 21 years old. I'm thinking, well, maybe I don't want to do these blues. Maybe I don't understand this. I don't understand the anger that she had. I was just thankful that people showed up and paid a cover charge and sat and enjoyed the things and clapped at the end of the songs. To me, that was way more than enough of a reward for what I was offering. But to her, it wasn't anywhere near enough. And watching her be who she was, at least at that moment in her life, it made me think I should think about not being into the blues because I don't understand this. Not long after that, I met Willie Dixon. And I thought, isn't he a gentleman? Isn't he a kind soul? Doesn't he just seem happy for the simple life that he lives and just, you know, going out, and when people clap, he smiles and thanks them. And I thought that made so much sense to me because that seemed like a life well lived and a good design, life plan design. So, you know, being a young guy, I'm just rubbing up against, I just wanted to rub up against these people that I had heard of and read about. And I learned one lesson from Big Mama and learned another lesson from Willie. And somewhere in the middle of all that, all those thoughts, and to this day, they're still running around in my head, helping me decide who I need to become, who I've been, where am I going, and what should I be thankful for? What should I be angry about? Is it okay to be angry? And I've decided it is. There's nothing wrong. When I think about Big Mama Thornton, at that time, I couldn't understand that anger. And now I look at it and I go, hey, that's what she decided to do with her time and with who she was. And I need to respect that. But anyway, what I'd like to do now is I'd like to ask my lovely assistant, Tom, if he has any pictures that he'd like to put up on the intranet. You know about did you ever hear of the intranet? I've just heard about it, and it's fascinating to me. And it's like a wire. Everybody has a wire right into their umbilical, right into their bellies. And we're all connected together. Me, you, Mao Zedong, Khrushchev, Mussolini. I remember one time my grandpa, when I was a kid, my old lady her and I were just sitting together. She was a hillbilly girl from West Virginia. And me, I'm an Italian from Pittsburgh, right? And so we're getting to know each other, and she's getting to know my family, and I'm going like, oh, Christ. And so we're at my mother's house, and my mother says, go down and pick up your grandmother and grandfather and bring them up for Sunday dinner. So my old lady and me, we drive down there, and we get to the house, and and my grandmother, I says, come on, Grandma, we're going to go up to the house for dinner. And she says to her husband, my Grandpap D, he says, I ain't going. She said, you put on your clothes, you get it together, we're going up to Art and Nori's house. We're having dinner. He said, I ain't going. One more time, she tells him to do it. He goes, I ain't going. And she says, you better get it together, mister, you're going. And then he goes like this, he says, who's going to be there? And my grandmother looks at him and she goes, Khrushchev's going to be there. And my old lady, to this day, every once in a while, she'll say, Khrushchev's going to be there. And this was happening like back in 1975 or 76. But it's a crazy story. Oh, my friend.
Here's one that caught my eye.
Wonderful pictures. Those pictures were taken on the Mancini's stage, which has been a strip club for the past 25 years. Over in McKees Rocks, right at the end of the McKees Rock Bridge. The old Mancini's Club. That's where we filmed the video for If You Don't Want Me. That's me and the Tigers. And that guy standing there with us.
That's what I want to know.
Right. Isn't that great? And the answer to the question of who is that guy standing with us? That guy is a music business legend named Tony Martel. And he owned the label that I was signed to, which was called CBS Associated. And he was a very well-respected guy. And he had a son that passed away named TJ. And he died from cancer. And this Tony Martel, for many years, was the head of the TJ Martel Foundation and created money after money in honor of his son's name and for cancer research. So he was very respected in the medical community for what he offered there. But in the music business, he was one of the heads of the CBS family. There's Columbia Records, and then there's the other side of Columbia Records, which was Epic, is also owned by Columbia at that time, which had great acts. And then the whole legion of labels called CBS Associated, and Tony was the head of that. And Tony was the guy that said to me one day, he said, hey, I got to let you go. I got to let you go from the label. And we're dropping you. We did 2 records together. And I said to him, hey, Tone, I says, I totally understand. I says, can I ask you one question? He says, sure. He says, what's up? I says, is there anything I can do? Is there anything I can do that would help you guys to think it would be important to offer us the chance to stay on the label? And he says, there's one thing. I said, really? He says, yeah. He said, there's this lady. He says, and if you could get her interested in managing you, I would work on finding a way to keep you with the label. And I said, who's the lady? He goes like this. Sharon Osbourne. I'm like, what? He said, Sharon Osbourne, Ozzy's wife. Her and Ozzy have moved over here to America, and they're restarting his career, and we're going to be behind it. And it's going to be huge. We have a lot of belief in her, and we have a lot of belief in how she does business, and we really know that Ozzy is going to have a giant rebirth. And if you can interest her in managing you, we'd be interested in having you. And I couldn't get her attention at all. But he offered me that thought, you know. So a very cool guy. He was another story with Tony was one time I went into the office and we had just watched the movie with the Beaver Brown did the music for.
About the rock star guy who disappeared,
Eddie and the Cruisers. Yeah. Well, Beaver Brown was with CBS Associated, and I told Tony that we saw the movie, and Tony told me he said something like the next day after that thing we sold like 50,000 copies of their album, and he says and what we're seeing happen here. This is the first time we've broken a record from a video. And it was the first time that they used the movie to break the music. And everybody loved the music so much that the record instantly sold like 50,000 copies in one day after that thing appeared on video. You know, or whatever, however it went on. But I remember we all saw the movie at the same time, and it jump-started their career. And I also remember, which is crazy, the day after I saw that movie, I drove to Asbury Park and was playing right by the Pony. And I was playing at a club by the Pony, and Beaver Brown was playing at the Pony. And on my break from my gig, I was back in this courtyard, and John Cafferty, the lead singer and writer of that material, was back there. And we had known each other because we had played together at the Fast Line. And I said to him, dude, I seen your movie last night. I says, it's amazing. It was crushing. And he goes, really? And I says, yeah, don't you love it? And he says, I don't know, man. He says, it really made me uncomfortable seeing my voice coming out of that guy's face. And it had just happened, like in a day or two. And he hadn't found the comfort and the beauty in what they had done together. And it was kind of shocked me a little bit, but I'm sure that it settled down into his mind how beautiful what that was happened. But I remember John was uncomfortable about seeing the movie, and but Tony told me, he says, dude, we found a new way to break a record, and that's what was in his mind, you know.
I'm going to throw another picture up here on the screen. I think that young man with the saxophone at the left-hand side is...
Oh, my heavens. That's a young and pretty Phil Bronce. Ain't he something? When you can see the innocence still in his eyes. You know, when Phil came and started working with us, we started having him guest with the Tigers. And really good person. And to this day, we're great friends. And in fact, he's actually played some stuff on my new record. And sometimes we still get to do dates together. He plays with Bill Toms now, who's a great Pittsburgh act. But he also does dates with Billy Price. He has a thing called some kind of horns, and they're like a little horn section he's got together that's doing dates, not just with Bill Toms, but they're taking dates with Billy Price and other folks as well. I think Jimmy Adler. But that's Phil being all young and innocent, playing with the Tigers, who had all lost their souls pretty much at that point.
I don't remember the Tiger Strike drum kit.
Well,
that must have been later on.
I think that might have been early. No, it must have been later on because Phil would have been with us because Phil wouldn't have played with the early Tigers. This was towards the end of the Tigers' reign.
Yeah.
But I can't remember. I think Whitey Cooper is a world-class drum man. And so he's always would have different kits and all historically have a story about them because he's like, I think he might be one of the most respected people in the world for when it comes to vintage drums. He actually learned about it from Roger Earl from Foghat. We did it. Roger come out to see us play one night, I think at the Evergreen. And Whitey was having some trouble, and Roger hooked him up with some stuff, and Roger started talking to him about vintage drums. And Whitey went goofy on it, and nowadays Whitey writes the articles for the biggest drum magazines in the world about the history of all the old drums. So he quite knowledgeable about the history of drums, all the different companies, and when they used to. He told me one time that a lot of the drum companies used to make banjos, drums and banjos. You know, I thought that was crazy. You know,
I always thought it was accordions and banjos.
You know, I used to play accordion. So smile when you say that.
One more picture just caught my. You mentioned Rod Serling. Something about your outfit and pose in this.
Wasn't I something in that picture? I look like a little nerd. And look at all the tigers looking at me. They're going.
Look like.
Right, they're looking at me like, you little monkey. We all ought to beat your ass. It's a great shot. Paul Shook, Nason Gig, Whitey Cooper, and Ray Gum. Taken right across the room here.
Yeah.
Right. And we're standing in front of in front of the window into the control room when this building was being built. This building was built by the money the Tigers made. You know, that's no... Any money that I made from the Tigers, it all went into this building. And it also, a big chunk of it went to Uncle Sam. I remember one time, Uncle Sam got in touch with me and told me I owed him $20,000 for my back taxes. And they sent a guy to my house. An accountant, the IRS sent a guy to my house, and I was living on. And he looked around my house like, "What the hell am I doing here? You ain't hiding nothing here, you know." Because I live real simple and basic. And he was there for 6 hours. At the end of the 6 hours, I says, "Hey man, you mind if I fill you up?" He said, "Fill me up." I says, "Yeah man." I says, "I just want to feel your body, see if you're wearing a piss bag." I says, "You ain't took a piss in 6 hours." I says, "I took 3 or 4. I thought you might be wearing a bag." But anyway, yeah, I had to. It took me a couple years to make up that money. But yeah, that time of the Tigers was just an amazing time in life. You know, I'm lucky. When I was in my 20s, I played the last years of my 20s. I was playing with the Diamonds, and the Diamonds were a world-class freak unit that just kicked everybody's ass and really was a world-class music gang that we were. And I went right from that into the Tigers that was totally different, and no one would accuse us of having the musicality that the Diamonds had. But we had this other thing, this togetherness and this bad attitude and this teamwork. So I went from the Diamonds to the Tigers. Most people would be lucky to say that they were in one of those bands. I was in both of them, and then went from there right to playing with other acts, you know. And now, 30 years later, here we are. But I'm so lucky that I got into those two world-class acts when I was younger, and I've stood on top of that mountain all those years since then. A lot of guys, if they're lucky enough to be in one, a lot of times they get afraid and run for cover, and they get the hell out of this business because they know better. Me, I didn't know better. But I stood on the mountain that the Diamonds made and the mountain that the Tigers made, and here I am today. You got any more pictures?
We got 5 minutes.
We got 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
Oh my, you know what? Time flies so fast when we're having fun.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today and hanging with us. I want to thank my lovely assistant, Tom, for being my lovely assistant. And I'm trying to muster up the courage. I like the word muster. I like the word muster a lot. What the hell amp is this in?
The Fender.
It is in the Fender? Tom knows. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm going to see if I have the nerve to try a song that I shouldn't be playing. But when I think about what we're going through in our country right now, unprecedented. I mean, I'm old. I remember when Kennedy was shot. I remember Vietnam. I remember a lot of stuff. Woodstock. But what's happening in our country today is something I don't have any background on. But I know we're a strong country and a strong people. And maybe I'm going to try to play a song that I have no right to play. How you doing? Up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue. Upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me. But troubles melt like lemon drops way above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me, somewhere over the rainbow. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly over the rainbow, why can't I? Why can't